It's Paul Marsh, and I'm overjoyed to say that I have been joined by the wonderful actor Jeremy Piven. Jeremy, how are you, sir?
Fantastic.
We're going to be talking about the brilliant film Primitive War, amongst some other bits and pieces. But what a film it is! I would possibly say it's as good, if not better, than five of the seven Jurassic movies.
Wow. I know this is sacrilegious, but I haven't seen them and I shouldn't even admit that. I've never seen an episode of Friends. There's something very wrong with me. So I'm very challenged with my pop culture references. So it sounds incredible what you just said. So thank you.
Well, I think that's probably because you've been so busy over the years doing some amazing parts. You've played so many memorable men before, from obviously Ari Gold to Harry Selfridge. What
Mm.
makes Colonel Jericho different?
Well, he's a Southern lunatic. Let's start with the accent. He's a military man. He's seen it all. He's a very particular guy, and I just thought it was fun to play a guy who is really believes that there's nothing that he hasn't walked through, and then he's suddenly confronted by dinosaurs. To me, that's just funny. Um, and we all played it straight, and it's an R-rated, uh, Vietnam War era dinosaur movie mashup.
Yeah, yeah.
So, go figure, man. It's like um, Full Metal Jacket Brontosaurus, which is also my stripper name. Full Metal Brontosaurus.
Hey, listen, there could be a new career for you. You never know. I have to
I'm
ask you
open.
about. I have to ask you about the Southern accent. Whose choice was that?
It was mine because I'm a lunatic, and I just like to do weird stuff, and I just felt like a guy. I've just to rise in the ranks in the U.S. military. You have to be a certain type of person. I'm a stage actor from Chicago, and it's funny. I remember, I'm heading to the UK soon, actually, to see my buddy Chris Eubanks fight, which
Okay.
would be really, really fun Saturday night. Um, but yeah, I remember like talking to a brand in the UK about possibly being the face of a new suit line. And they said, this is for the everyman. I don't know how we're going to sell this. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And they said, well, these are affordable suits. I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, you know, that's not your background. I'm like, it's not my background. Well, I grew up in a theater family below the poverty level just outside of Chicago. I earned about what you would equate to about 30 quid a week, um, performing on stages. I broke through at 40 years old, and I won the Fresh Face of the Year award at 40 years old. Um, uh, let's see. I don't know who you do. You have the right guy? And what's interesting about me is I think because I played characters like Ari Gold and Mr. Selfridge and maybe incredibly well-to-do white men, which have targets on their back, very evil. Any white man doing well, let's take them down. I digress. But so I just made it clear to them that my background is I'm just a journeyman stage actor. So it's interesting when a guy like Colonel Jericho is someone very different than me, completely different. And I wanted to start with where he comes from down south and the accent and also just putting him in that situation is very fun for me. And we shot that in Australia. A lot of Australians doing great American accents, flawless, really. And I just think the film needs to be celebrated for no other reason than to celebrate the indie spirit because They pulled off the impossible. You've never seen a dinosaur movie that wasn't from a studio. And Luke Sparks just made it in his backyard, and we did it for under $10 million. And it's been doing well in the theaters. Fathom, that released it in the States, said, okay, we'll release it for a week unless it does well. It did well, lasted, 5, 6 weeks and beyond. And now we're heading overseas.
Well, I was going to mention this because, like you said, I mean, I think you were being generous of saying 10 million. I think it was roughly around 8 million the movie was made for. Just to give
I
you.
want I wanted you to say that. See how I baited you into that? Very, very clever.
Well, I wanted to just sort of give it a bit of comparison. That's roughly the same budget that Robert Rodriguez had for El Mariachi in 1992, over 30 years ago. And 20
Yeah.
years later was recently shot on an iPhone, but that cost $60 million. So that gives you a rough idea of this film. And like you say, for how well it has performed and how well it continues to perform for $8 million. And, it's been, I think, like I say, other than maybe Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, I think it's ranked higher on Rotten Tomatoes than all of the rest of the Jurassic franchise.
Wow, you're making this very easy for me. Because Americans, we love to celebrate ourselves, but you're doing it for me, so I thank you. Yeah, listen, I shouldn't be talking about this, but we're at a time right now where it's been a bit challenging to get people to the theater, but that's on us because we need to make movies like this
Yeah,
that I believe are pure escapism.
yeah,
I watch people watching in a very creepy way, and they didn't look at their phones.
yeah.
Um, they're laughing, they're gasping, and times are very strange right now out there, and to provide something that is really fun and well made and you can forget about everything for 90 minutes is pretty rare. And also, we were very responsible with this budget. We're living in times where there are actors out there still, saying, give me 20, 25 million first dollar. And
Yeah,
you hear about these movies and you're like, wow, it made a few hundred million and there's still 200 million in the hole.
yeah,
You
crazy.
know, I think our entire budget was maybe I don't know what you could equate it to in terms of the Jurassic movies, but I think it's a
Yeah,
fraction of it.
and
So
like I say,
we need to be smart about it.
they're pure escapism. It's pure
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, it really is, and at the same time, you know, it we were in the mud and uh it's like I'm touring with stand up right now and it's this interesting duality where the harder you work the easier it looks.
Yeah,
And I've done stand up in the UK. My two favorite places in the world to do stand up are the UK, London, and Australia, because they love a good laugh. You have to earn it, and it's been amazing. And with this film, people, we were out there trying to get it right. We had a military consultant with us 24/7. So, it works on a bunch of different levels. It works just purely as a war film. And there was a interviewer that said, as soon as I saw the uniforms and all these men, I was just so turned off. And then I saw the dinosaurs and I was in. And I was like, wow, thank you for your honesty. That's amazing.
but that's another thing that the film gets right is the dinosaurs because unlike a certain other franchise, the dinosaurs are more feathered and they're more actually chicken-like, which is actually how dinosaurs looked.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. Yeah, for the purists, they have feathers. And from what I understand, about people have been not happy with the other franchise, and this one gives the authenticity, plus it's R-rated. It's like it's blood and guts,
Yeah.
and we say some language which is offensive and not politically correct, but it's the language they were using at the time of the Vietnam War.
Well, I think if you're in the middle of the Vietnam War and you're faced with dinosaurs, I would imagine you'd probably use some non-PC language at a guess.
Not only that, but you know, they these guys. If you look at Full Metal Jacket, these guys were, you know, that old saying, "War is hell." These guys aren't on their best behavior, and they were, using some words that um that we have to be authentic to the setting and not second guess ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie does. And it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to be out there in the UK, and I'm going to go to some theaters and check it out. It's going to be really fun. And I'd love to get people back out to the theaters. And next year, I'm hoping the performance, the film I have behind me, will be out. Which, I've only been working on for 15 years. And I look forward to that. I mean, the great thing about the UK that I learned in my time there with Mr. Selfridge, and I went studied at the National Theater, and worked on Rock-a-Rolla with Guy Ritchie. So I've been out there and loving it. And they really seem to be a very honest group, where if you've earned it and you worked hard, it's tough love out there. It's a little pessimistic. Um, and yet, if you put the work in, uh, they will. If you don't put the work in, they're going to give it to you straight.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
think I,
I appreciate that.
I think that's in all walks of life over here, especially our sport and bits and pieces like that. I think we love and appreciate a worker, and if you're work shy, we're going to let you know about it. I just want to ask you one very quick question more about the film before we move on to some other bits. How many cigars did you go through?
Not enough. I love cigars, and that was. I can't. To be honest with you, I don't know if I suggested it. I can't even remember at this point. But all I know is that, like, the idea of smoking a cigar on set, is like living the dream. I recently, for a meet and greet after one of my stand-up shows, was on stage smoking a cigar during a meet and greet with all the people that were there. And I mean, I felt like Dave Chappelle. I felt like I was breaking all the rules because Dave smokes on stage. So I went through a lot of cigars, but I loved it. Just Southern accent, in the trenches. It was pretty fun battling dinosaurs, jumping in helicopters, and getting paid. I
Oh,
mean, it's just, what more can you ask for?
you
Actually, I can ask for a lot more.
well,
Let's
there
be
is.
honest.
Yeah, yeah, they are. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You are, we mentioned this earlier, you are the king of quotables in movies, and you have got some pretty quotables in this movie as well. Some of my favorites, I loved Ass Deep in Alligator, Smoke 'em if you got 'em, and of course, the all famous Classified, which gets used quite a lot. I got
Yes.
moisturizer that's older than you, and I'll rip their skins off and make ponchos out of them. I thought were all absolutely top notch.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Luke wrote a great script, and they were all his lines except for the last two. I've got moisturizer that's older than you was an improv that I did because the guy that I was doing the scene with was way too young and he was way too good looking, and I was very jealous. And so I turned that into just taking the piss, and it was really fun. As well as the last one that you said was mine.
Yeah, I want to ask you some quotes from your other movies, and I want to see if you know what movies they're from.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with a very easy one. Would your partner like to be wrapped in silk as well? Some people think it's tacky, but I really enjoy it when couples dress alike.
That is Rush Hour with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. I was hired as a day player. My character was saleswoman, so I was the wrong gender, and I made 270 US dollars that day.
No.
Yes, Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan each made 20 million. So for those of you who think that I have been flying off white privilege, I stepped up and improvised that entire scene. My only line was, "May I help you?"
Oh, well, you again, that's what you do. You steal scenes. You steal scenes.
Well,
Now,
I'm just a big ham.
now, not many people may know you from this film, but it is an absolute classic. Take off your shirt. My God, my daughter gave this to me for Father's Day.
Another improv opposite Robert De Niro in Heat. They're making the second one, and I would really like to get Michael Mann's attention. Uh, I sat in the waiting room for almost 3 hours to audition for that, and got lucky and got the role. I was a kid, and I got to play opposite my, I was about to say Michael Jordan. Robert De Niro is the Michael Jordan of actors, so that was amazing. And so what I do as an actor is I did 40 movies before Entourage, and they were all like that, where I would have one line and then I would just keep improvising. And De Niro kept going, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." It was amazing. That's
Let's
how he improvises.
let's finish with two of the easier ones that are absolutely my favorite. Let's hug it out, bitch.
Another improv from Entourage, and
Oh,
and oddly enough, that was all scripted, and that was one of those moments where they didn't yell cut, and I knew that Kevin Connolly, who played E, is very uncomfortable with being touched or getting in his space. So as my character, I just knew that he likes to break other people's space. So I just, you want to hug it out, bitch? Let's hug it out. And
oh,
then I just knew if I hugged him, it would make him very uncomfortable. And it was a great moment for the scene because, my character has all the power, and there are those guys out there. There is Ari Emanuel is Ari Gold.
oh.
And
I am obsessed with Entourage, and that is absolutely one of my favorites. And I love hearing. I listen to the podcast with Doug and Kevin, and I love listening to all the behind the scenes stuff. I think it's brilliant. I could do a whole other interview on that, but we don't have time, so I'm going to move on.
Okay.
Final quote, which if you allow me, I'm going to kind of quote back to you, which is 10 years, man. 10. Where have you been for 10 years?
Oh my God, I feel like this is your life right now. Thank you. I needed this. Yeah, that was with John Cusack, obviously, who I grew up with. I've been on stage with him since I was 8 years old. So he studied at my parents' theater at the Piven Theater. That's how we became friends. And that again was improv. That was I don't even know if yeah, my line was, "Where have you been for 10 years?" And so, being the true kind of ham that I am, I just kept repeating the line over and over again to try to stretch it out. But that was Gross Point Blank, and one of the few truly, I think, really well executed dark comedies, which is a hard tone to get. Very, very dark, very twisted, edgy, but funny.
It's brilliant. It's again, it's the first film where I found you, and it's one of my favorite of all times. You know how the fact that he tells people throughout the entire movie that he's a hitman, a not serial killer, he's a hitman, and everyone comes back with a quippy. You know, do they do dental with that? And
Yeah.
it's absolutely brilliant. It's brilliant. I love it. Jeremy, I could talk to you for hours. Thank you so much for entertaining me. I really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank you for entertaining me and letting me talk about myself, which I do really well at this point.
Primitive War is absolutely
Yes.
amazing, and it is coming to cinemas here in the UK on the 28th of November. Much success to the film, and here's hoping to Primitive War with you in it as well. Primitive
Thank you
War,
so much.
sorry.
No, thank you, man. I look forward to seeing you again next year. We'll come back for the performance, but I appreciate this.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, sir. All the best.
You too. Thank you.